Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the July meeting about you computer users group. Well, we have got an incredible amount of stuff for you this month. We're going to go through the group business very quickly. In 1984, when Apple introduced the Macintosh, it was a revelation. No one had ever seen a system quite like it before. It had windowing. Microsoft had been working on something similar. So in 1989, when the Windows came out, before that, 85, Microsoft had licensed the windowing operating system from Apple to use on theirs. And then in 89, with Windows 3, they claimed that the license, they didn't need it anymore because their system was different enough that they didn't need the license. They went to court, and the judge, who knew absolutely nothing about computers, they were different. Well, no, they're not. Even today, they're almost identical. Let's get moving. And we have, once again, our sponsor, the Candle Lady, our very own Carol McLean. I got to tell you, I get to see this thing ahead of time. What caught my eye more than anything else, not the Remember Honor, which is a super looking candle, not the Dragon Fruit Guava, but I saw that mojito, and I said, "Oh, that way I can get my mojito without having to have to drink the mojito." Yes, her candles are absolutely amazing. Ever looking for a gift for the person who's impossible to get a gift for? These make great gifts. Think about it. I don't remember a 4th of July one before. Is this? Oh, yeah, I know, but I don't remember seeing that last year. Did I just miss it? Oh, okay. But the mojito, I think, is new, isn't it? I'm going to get off of this real fast, but dragon fruit and guava, if you've never been into a guava, they don't have many of them. I got one when they are blossoming. The aroma is overpoweringly beautiful. You never want to leave. Contact the Candle Lady. Another big benefit of this group, professional consulting. Barry and I, if you have a problem, you can contact us. About 70% of the time, we can handle it over the phone. The other, we can come out. If we do have to come out to your home to solve a problem, there is a fee. It's very low, $35, as opposed to Geek Squad, which is charging $250. So, $250 versus $35, I think it's a pretty good deal. Those are the numbers. Geek Squad has to do that. A lot of the problems, we can come into your system either through a Zoom session or through a message session and go through with you and solve the problem. And I have a friend of mine who lives in Virginia who calls me with a problem at least weekly, if not more often. And that's what I do with him. I can do it from my iPhone, remotely gone onto his computer on my iPhone and say, all right, do this, do this. I've helped many of you in here already, especially one. So that's a big benefit. Okay, the Tip Fest is this month. Next month is going to be the state of generative AI. AI is really taken off. As a matter of fact, AI has gotten so good that movies that you see on your TV, it's hard to say if those are real or fake. It's gotten that good. We were watching one the other night, the Battle of Agincourt. I turned to Jane, I said, I know that's AI. It's got to be really realistic. They had gone in and done a tremendous job. It generated the characters, the actual count of who was there. So it's getting harder and harder to tell reality from AI. And I hate using the term AI because it's not intelligence. It's not even close to intelligence. And I know a lot of people are opposed to it. They're worried about it. What was the name of that movie with Schwarzenegger? Not Total Recall, the other one, about the robot from the future that comes back. Terminator. That, the world's going to be taken over by robots. That is an interesting discussion. I personally think that we are biological robots created by metal robots millions of years ago. But, that's an interesting one to stop and think about it. And then September, this is the meeting of all the meetings all year round. This is the one you don't want to miss, because this is where you get to tell the officers what you want us to talk about, what you want us to present. That's where we get our topics from. Well, it's just been decided today. That means I get to harass Jim. You got the wrong meeting room. Yeah, good. And you guys decide. We do not sit in some dark closet and come up with topics. You guys get to tell us. If you want to do word processing, you want to do spreadsheets, you want to do databases, you want, how do I maneuver around the desktop? That's what you say, this is what we want to discuss. And that's where all of our topics come from. Very important meeting. This is probably the announcement of the year. Adobe, out of nowhere, dropped shell you've ever seen. It's called Project Indigo. It is a camera replacement application for the iPhone only. We don't know if there is an Android one coming. It is amazing. It does, for those of you who are into photography, it does in-camera HDR, high definition resolution, which means it shoots a number of photos at different f-stops, combines them to give you the perfect photograph. It is a game changer. I have switched to using Indigo for doing all my camera work. It is amazing. So what does it actually do? Here's how it's put together. It uses something that Adobe calls computational computing. It goes in and it takes the raw frames, and we don't know how many. It takes as many as it thinks it needs. It aligns them, it merges them. It goes either into a DNG file, it merges the raw image with adaptive color profile. I do not know what demosaic is. It goes through and applies a tone map, it sharpens, it color tunes, and gives you out a JPEG file and a RAW file if you want one. Now, what I'm going to try and do right now, this is what the interface looks like. You have your different zoom levels. You can just select, so we can zoom in. There's Mike. If I take Mike's picture, it comes over and is intelligent enough to say, hey, try night mode. I don't have enough light. Let's switch to night mode. That's the picture that I get. It balanced the highs and the lows automatically. I have the HDR and I have the JPEG. Oh, HDR is by default, and I get the JPEG and DNG. I can do panorama. I can zoom out, pinch zoom. I should have enough light for this one. And then I can go in and edit this if I want to. I can make adjustments. I can automatically remove reflections in the app. Now, this is something Lightroom does in Camera Raw. But if any of you have been out and ever taken, we have a plate glass window, you get the reflections or you get reflections, automatically removes it. You can denoise it right in the camera. That's the info. I can automatically go into Lightroom that is on the camera, and it's taken care of automatically. That is Project Indigo. Any questions about that? Yes, it is free right now. That is digital negative. It's a raw photo. DNG was adopted by Adobe to designate what they call a digital negative. And it's basically a raw photo, but it's got a lot more intelligence in it. RAW, unfortunately, is not a standard. Every camera manufacturer has a different RAW format. DNG was Adobe's attempt to standardize. The new Nikons have DNG native. Some of the Canons have DNG native. Sony, I have not verified this one. I've been told that Sony now supports DNG. It's about as close to an SLR as you can get. You can control just about everything. F-stop, shutter speeds, exposure compensation, color balance. It's got everything that you'd want. Based upon Adobe, it might be a subscription, more than likely be a subscription. My guess will be $50 a year. That's just a guess. But as far as I'm concerned, it's worth it. That is correct. But it'll probably be, if you have a subscription to Photoshop and Lightroom, which is $10 a month, you'll probably get it free. That's a very good point. Barry just checked. We can't change applications now. Moving right along. Oh, here's more features. You have a Photonite multi-frame super resolution, iPhone Pro Max and above. Solves a digital resolution problem. Basically, every photo you take, perfectly resolved. You don't get any of the digital noise that you get when you do a digital zoom. I went in and used the 10X on the falcons in my backyard. I could not tell that it was taken with a digital zoom, because I went in on the digital zoom and I zoomed in maximum. It's kind of what JPEG does reverse. See, JPEG goes in and gets rid of pixels. Their super resolution goes in and creates pixels. And it does a phenomenal job so far. I've been really impressed. You can control focus. You can easily control focus with this thing. Shutter speed, ISO, exposure compensation, white balance. And I've already demonstrated it. I was ahead of myself. Let's take a short break. Okay, the break's over and let's get moving. And it's time for Tip Fest. Yeah, okay. These are the categories that we came up with to cover this, because we're trying to figure out, how should we do this? And so we're talking about operating systems in general, web browsing, applications, productivity and automation, accessibility, photography, file management, and customization. If you have a question, don't worry about it not being in the right category. Ask your questions. Also, remember, look at the commonality, because you'll be able to say, well, geez, I can do that on X, but that's the same thing on Y. You'll see that a lot. Okay. Barry's going to give our first two on the dock.
Greetings, it's your friendly neighborhood Mac geek again with some macOS Doc.
Okay. This is what Barry's going to talk about. Let's take a look at the video.
shoves your little icons on the desktop over if you have them showing. And you can put it back on the bottom. So you can change the position to any of those three positions without having to go to settings. Now, you can also change the Finder window minimization animation. Let's open a Finder window here first. You'll notice how it's scooped out of there. When you minimize a window from the Finder, actually any window in any app, this does the same thing. It animates down.
Okay. Oh, that's what Barry's going to do, the application switcher. I don't know if there's a video, but there is.
I believe there is.
Yeah. Mike, on the dock, is there an equivalent in Windows on that?
Yes, the Windows taskbar does much of the what you showed there. I don't think that there's a shortcut way to go to settings button except right click on it and you've got settings.
Yeah. But the taskbar and the dock are very, very similar. Not quite identical, but very close. Next, we have our application switcher. And let's see what Barry's got to say. This is what he's going to be talking about. By the way, I use the application switcher a lot. Between that and Spotlight are my two go-tos.
Hi, it's me again, Barry McBaz Midgordon, with another macOS tip. Using the application switcher, go from one app to another. So what is the application switcher? Well, let's bring up a slide that shows what we're going to go through. And the application switcher is a quick way of changing from one application to another, applications that are already open. And to invoke it, you hold down the Command key and hit the Tab key on the keyboard. And you keep the Command key down through all of this. You'll notice I have a bar in the middle of the screen now that shows all my open apps. I was in preview at the beginning. When I hit Command Tab, it switched to the Finder. Every time you hit the Tab key, as long as you keep the Command key down, the selection will move to the next app to the right. When you release Command key, once you have selected one, for instance, in this case, Mail, it will open that app or bring it to the forward. Now, some of these apps are hidden, so you can't see their windows, but when you select it in the application switcher, it'll bring it forward. So I'll switch back to Preview, and here is our slide again. You can also Command tilde to the left. If you use the key above the Tab key on the US keyboard, the tilde key, or the backtick key is the accent mark on it, it will switch to the, or it'll go through the application switcher to the left. So Tab key to the right, tilde key to the left. If you want to go directly to one end or another, you can hit while the Command key is down, of course, keep it down. If you have an extended keyboard and you have a home key in between the regular keyboard and the numeric keypad, you can tap the home key to go all the way back to the left edge. Another option that does the same thing is the page up key, which is usually right next to the home key. If you hit the end key, just below the home key, it will go to the right end or the last app in the list. And the page down but key on the keyboard to the right of the end key will also take you to the right end of the app switcher. You can do a couple of other things with apps while they're in the app switcher. For instance, hide them or quit them. Let's look at hiding. As I mentioned before, a number of these apps are hidden. And if you look at I'll jump out of here for a minute. If you look down at the dock, I have system settings here. It's open because it's got that dot underneath it in the dock. All these apps with little dots indicate that they're open and running. You'll notice the icon is kind of faded. Take a look at that. You can see that it's not as opaque. You can see through it. That means that app is hidden. If I switch to it, it will bring it to the fore. And then I can use this app. And then when I'm done, if I don't want to close it or quit it, I can select it in the app switcher, and while the Command key is down, tap the H key and it hides it. You'll notice it's still there, but it's hidden from view. You can also quit apps. So I have the Notes app here. It's hidden also. I can bring it to the forefront, and then I can switch to a different app, go to Pages. And if I say, okay, well, I don't need Notes anymore, I will highlight it with Command Tab. And you'll notice every time you do Command Tab, if you just do one tab, it just switches between the previously active app and the one before it. So Pages is active now. Command tab opens notes. Another command tab switches back to pages. So if you go back and forth between two apps, almost mindlessly, command tab to go back and forth. So, but I want to quit notes. Pages in the front, notes is selected. While the command key is down, tap the Q key and it quits that app without even bringing it to the forefront. Another thing you can do is to show all the open windows for an app, which is called App Expose. So if I command tab to pages and I want to see all the open apps, I can either tap the number 1 on the keyboard and it shows me just the open windows for that app, or tap the down arrow key, gets me to the same location. And if you've got more than one open window, of course, that allows you then to quickly click on the one you want to bring to the front. And you'll notice that it just brings that app and that one window to the front. Doesn't bring both windows. The other window is still open, but it's behind what I was looking at before, which was preview. And that, my friends, is the application switcher, how to quickly go from one app to another and either hide or quit or bring windows forward one at a time. Once again, see you next time.
Okay, anyone have questions about the application switcher?
I'd like to add an addendum. Many of those features are also available on the iPad. If you have a Bluetooth connected keyboard, you can use an application switcher on an iPad.
I like to make a comment about the application switcher. I use a lot of the desktops on my system. I'll have 3, 4, or 5 desktops, each one of them with different applications in it. And I quite often don't remember where something is. I know that I know that it's open. I just don't know where it is, on which of the desktops it is. I use the application switcher to go up and say, okay, take me to it. By the way, using multiple desktops is great because you can have an application at full screen, but yet still be able to get back to your desktop easily. Does everybody know what I'm talking about? Okay.
Virtual desktops.
Right now, I've got
an impromptu tip. Here we go.
Well, yeah, an impromptu tip. This is my window, and my desktop is underneath it someplace. There we go. There's my desktop. I had it full screen. The green button takes the full screen.
How do you tile them? How do you tile the windows?
Oh, that by accident. Okay, I didn't do that on purpose.
It's just where the windows are on it.
Yeah, it's just where the windows are. I forgot to close them. So you can see that I can't get back to my desktop easily without closing the window. Well, I don't like to do that. What I can do is come down here to Mission Control. And Mission Control has different desktops. On desktop 2, that's where my calendar is. By holding down the control key, I can get back to desktop 1. Now, let's say that I open this all the way up, hold the control key down, and I can get back to my desktop easily and over to desktop 2.
Yeah, when something goes full screen, it kind of makes its own desktop.
Yeah, now I can come here and go full desktop here. That's 1. I now have 2 desktops because the calendar full screen goes on its own desktop. And I can see that by going to Mission Control and seeing I now have desktop 1, desktop 2, desktop 3, desktop 4. Okay, what I'm going to cover right now is tags for use in files and notes. And they're a little bit different. First, I'm going to talk about notes. So let's go over to a open desktop, open up notes. Now, what is a tag? Well, in notes and in almost every use of tags, and you can use tags on web pages, you can use tags to do searches, is that I can search. I've set up a tag called beef. Now, yes, the pound sign. Now, in each one of my notes, the tag is represented by the pound sign and a word. It will highlight it in blue. That means you put a tag in. And then I can search. It's almost like a smart folder, but I don't have to create a folder to do it. How many tags can I have in a particular note? As many as I want. That identifies it as a tag.
It's a hashtag.
Hashtag.
Just like mobile media, social media has been using for years.
If you put in beef, it will search every document that has the word beef in it. The hashtag will only bring up those notes you put that tag in. It's completely different. These are used for organization. Now, in social media, the hashtag is used in a similar way. Let's say that you are watching a YouTube video and you want to make a comment. Well, if you put the hashtag in with your comment, when someone does a search on that hashtag, it will find your note regardless of where it is. So you can make a comment on Read It, and somebody who's on Facebook will be able to see that Read It comment. That's how in social media how hashtags work. And they're very easy to put in. Let's do a new note. And I'm going to do a hashtag user group. That hashtag now exists. When I come down here to put another one in, it brings up a list of all my current hashtags. So if I can go through and see what hashtags I've already used. And you can see I don't use many of them at all. That's the only way I can keep organized. A lot of these were based upon before I started using Pestle for cooking. This is how I kept organized my recipes. Yes, you can create smart folders. I can create down here someplace a smart folder. Where the heck are those? These are smart folders. They do the same thing. A smart folder, you can specify what you want to do. Let's come up here and
You can have multiple criteria as well.
new folder, convert to smart folder. In this case, edit smart folder. And now I can give it criteria. Include all notes matching all of the following. Tags. I want it to search 4th of July. And I can put in another criteria. Date created, last 12 months. And it just like the Finder criteria, I can keep adding criteria. And now this folder will contain anything that has a hashtag of July 4th, green last 12 months. There's nothing there. You can use hashtags to simulate, because what I can do, let's go down to the Finder, bring up Spotlight. I can do a search like on hashtag, and let's say beef. And this is doing an entire internet. Or I can do the one I'm right now doing a hashtag beef in Safari. The one thing we can't do right now, put hashtags added to a file. Here's a file. There is no way to put in a hashtag because of the file. It'd be nice if there was
There's a file system tag system for your files, but it doesn't use hashtag.
right.
You can create tags, and it kind of use the same way, but you don't use the hash mark.
Okay. If you right click, these become tags. You can specify them by name, and I can add that to a file. I've designated the blue dot is MVCUG right there.
No, you name them in Finder preferences.
Finder preferences, or you can, I want MVC.
Click at the bottom, show all.
And now this file, you see, it's got that dot by it. That means I've tagged that file. And then I can do searches for those types of tags. And I can create a smart folder for those tags and keep myself better organized. It's an organizational tool.
Finder settings, yeah.
Yeah, Finder settings is where you can designate
where you
tag.
create them. Half a dozen default, and they're just named by colors.
Yeah.
And then you can add or change them.
And when you do, like, let's say that you have 4 blue buttons, each of those buttons can have a different name, and they're identified as being different. So the color is not the important part, it's the name that's important. If you have a lot of files, a lot of documents, it's a good way of getting better organized. And someday I'll be there.
Yeah.
I keep trying. Okay.
Just don't create any new documents, and then you can get everything caught up.
Okay, might as well go through the next couple of them too, because I'm going to do 3 of them in a row here. So I'm going to talk about Windows Start menu. Then I'm going to talk about the taskbar, and then I'm going to talk about virtual windows. All right,
Virtual desktop.
go ahead and switch over to me. I'm sharing my screen already. This is my Windows 95. Boy, I just took what? Windows 11, the latest Windows 11 updated as of 2 days ago. So if they've added anything new, I don't know about it yet, because they have a tendency to update at rather odd times anymore. I know why I was thinking about Windows Desktop or Windows 95. We've had the Start menu ever since Windows 95. That's when they first put it in here. The Start menu, which is I'm sure that most of us have used, is a little windowy looking thing down here that says Start if you click on it. Here's the way it currently looks in Windows 11. I click on it, left click, and it brings up all the things I have that are pinned to the Start menu, all the applications that I may want to use on a regular basis. Most of these are actually defaulted from when I started it up. Microsoft, of course, is going to pin most of its own applications. I can also pin other things if I want to. For example, let me go down here and see. Let me look at my Zoom. Bring that up here. Actually, I need the icon. This was not showing pin to Start menu, but it is showing pin to taskbar. Most applications, you have the option. You can either do it to the Start menu or to the taskbar. Some of them, they'll only offer you one or the other. I have Notepad pinned to the Start pad here. If I right click on it and it brings up the option, I can unpin it from the Start menu and it'll disappear from here, or I can pin it to the taskbar, or I can do both. Most of them have that option. All depends on how much space you have in the taskbar, how much space you have up here. There is something else that comes with the Start menu that's called widgets. These were called live tiles in Windows 10. In Windows 10, if you click on the Start menu, the live tiles are in its own panel over off Windows 11, they did a little bit differently. They replaced it with what they call widgets, and the widgets are right over here. If I hover over this, those are the widgets. I can customize this to a fair amount. I've got news showing up there. I've got weather, and this is just something that you can play with when it's live. It's constantly updating. It's just something that you can play with and customize to your own need. The only reason I ever actually use this myself is to see what the current weather is doing. Dear Vista, summertime, it's either hot or it's raining. I don't get that much use out of it, but I do that. Or windy, yes, very much. And it'll show little things down there like, okay, video highlight for sports. Okay,
Backs are losing.
yes, I know they are. Okay, that's the start menu. The taskbar is much like what Barry just went over with the dock. This down here is the taskbar. On the left side is the taskbar proper. It's got items that I have pinned here or that I have open right now. And it has a search box, which I found for later editions of Windows is probably the easiest way to find the programs and the files that I'm looking for. On the right side, this part's actually called the system tray. This shows processes that are running or that are minimized down that I want to get to. Everything's like I've got Bluetooth settings that are showing right here. I've got Windows Defender out showing there. Okay, just about. Except I was just playing with it, and one thing I've forgotten about. If I bring up taskbar settings, this is where I can adjust what the taskbar is doing, and it actually brings up the Windows setting box. And one thing I notice is it will no longer let you put the taskbar on the side. The only option, it was a little while ago. I forgot about it. See where? Yeah, it is. I always thought so. Our taskbar behaviors. It'll only let you align it to the left like mine is now, or the center where it just takes the whole thing and gets rid of that empty space that's in the middle and puts it right in the center. Like, I don't like it myself, but it's removed the option. And they did this a little while ago within the last year or so where you can't move it to the side. I don't know why.
You can't automatically hide it, though, looks like. Yeah.
You can automatically hide it, yes. Yeah, automatically hide the taskbar right there.
I'd say that there's another difference, too. macOS Doc does not have, like, the system tray items that Windows has. They're in the menu bar, though, not in the dock. That's just the trash and any icons that you want to put down there. Those aren't background tasks. The background task apps, like in the system tray on Windows, are in the menu bar, not in the dock.
As long as I'm here, the one thing I'll show is I can turn on or off the search box at this point. I can either hide it or just make it an icon label. I actually have the whole search box out. I could turn off or on the task view, which is this little icon down here, which I'll be showing you shortly. Or I can actually just turn off that widgets, and so I don't have to see that, which sometimes I do that.
Like when the D-backs are losing, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I can tell whether or not I want to see a touch keyboard on the screen. If I have a touchpad, because this is a touch screen. Yeah, so I can actually bring a keyboard on it. Not played with that, so I'm not even going to get into that and get lost in virtual touchpad, alignment, show badges. That's if, for example, I have an email app up and it'll show a little badge to show I've got new email. Show flashing on taskbar apps if it wants my attention for some reason. Share any window from my folder. Select the far corner of the taskbar to show the desktop. I'll show you that in a second. Combine taskbars and hide labels. That is why I have this little arrow down here. Because I've got that set to combine the taskbars and hide the labels. Otherwise, I could set it to never, and it'll just try to show everything they can. Or I could set it so that if I've got so many icons that it's filling up the taskbar, then they'll start combining them down. Other settings I have here are day and time. And there is one thing on the clock display that is really rather neat. I've got it set time zone automatically. No, I don't want to go into daylight savings time if there is, but as often as I travel, it gets wonky. I find it easier to just set it to Arizona and let it go. If I travel on my other system, I will change that off. One thing that's rather cool that I use on my desktop at home is additional clocks. You can actually set a different clock for different time zones. I think you can have up to 3 clocks. So I have one clock set to Arizona time, the primary. I have one clock set to Carolyn's folks in New England, and I've got one clock set to my sister in Brisbane, Australia. So when I'm sending her an email, I'm going, oh, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. She's probably at breakfast. She might get this in the next minute. As opposed to, and it's 2 a.m. Yeah, I'm not going to get a response to this right away. But that's kind of a neat thing that they have an option for there. Okay, pin to start. And I think I already actually have it pinned, the notepad to here.
Drag the minute.
Okay, now I do have this option here to pin to taskbar. So yeah, you can absolutely pin them either to taskbar or to the start menu. You'll have that option. Some of the things that this system I don't use that much at home. I like my Windows 10 just because I've been beating the hell out of it for years. This one I keep more for display purposes and for the user group. This one I haven't customized that much. This is still mostly what Microsoft has set up. What else we got? The one thing I wanted to show you, I'll be getting into this at the virtual desktops here in just a sec. So I got stuff that's opened up. I've got a few different folders here. I've got Google set up, a few windows. All right. One of the things that nobody knows about, because it's really kind of hidden off to the right side of the taskbar, is if you bring it, your cursor over to is just about to go off, you'll see this little line, and that is show desktop.
Used to be a bigger square kind of.
Used to be a bigger square. They just made it into this little thing.
Very edge.
Right on the very edge, just this little vertical line here. You have to bring your cursor all the way over to the edge in order to see it. Nobody knows this is here. Or another way you could do this, I read about it quite some time back. They've had it for a long time. It's just nobody ever knows about it because you just don't spot it unless you accidentally bring your cursor right there and go, how about that? Or another way to do it is, and John gave me this tip when he was giving me suggestions he came up with, is the Windows key and D is also show desktop. You could go that either way. Or to get to something that was brought up earlier, if you do a Windows key and Z, and to say, as John usually does, this worked at home. Okay, Windows Z, what should bring up is a layout option. It'll bring up a little window that will show how I want my windows tiled. It'll give options to do a column by column or horizontally or that kind of thing.
So is that like within an application
No, this is in the desktop
for all
here.
open windows?
It'll show all. Actually, when I did it at home, it brought this up without me clicking on anything else. But yes, this is close enough where I have different ways that I can do these options. This is the way that you can work with folders. These are individual applications that are running or folders that are running. Now, here's the desktop. So this is a way, as you were talking about using, going back and forth. Oh, and there's the other thing. If you have several applications running, you could do the Alt Tab thing. I brought up Alt Tab, and this brings up the options where I can go to any of the windows that are open. Now, bear in mind, these are all on the same desktop. If I want to go to virtual desktops, what they call task view down here, I could create a new desktop. And now you can see this is different from what I have down here. If I cover on here, it'll show it. Or if I do the Alt Tab, it'll show it. So from here, I can do, say I'm going to launch Microsoft Edge. Now I can work with this here. I can go down to the task view, and I could go back and forth to my original desktop, or I could go over to this one, and I can open up a lot of new things as well to have that. Or I can do the Alt Tab, all sorts of options. Oh, nope, that doesn't go across virtual desktops.
Oh, that's
Okay, Alt Tab is local.
Alt Tab is desktop specific.
Okay, Alt Tab works on the local stuff, but not across the virtual desktops. I'm sure there's other shortcuts. I'll have to find them. But that's the difference between the virtual desktops and the folders. Now on this virtual desktop, number 2, I can create, or I can open up as many other applications as I want.
Oh, it's Win Control left right arrow.
Win control.
I was gonna say maybe it's the Windows key.
Personally, I don't use much of this myself because I have dual monitors on my desktop. And I find that that's enough for me. I don't do serious work anymore. I do hobby stuff. I love being retired. Yeah, for retirement. Back in the day, if I actually was doing like when I was teaching, and I'd have to have Word up, Excel up, PowerPoint up, everything. Then I would use this kind of thing. She's right, by the way. The Windows key, Control key, and arrow moves back and forth between the desktops. Thank you, Carol. One thing I was going to mention that, John, you had in your notes for me, timelines. Timelines were removed from Windows 11. I think what happened, do you remember Microsoft Recall? They're just starting to deploy that now on brand new systems. I'm not sure if they're going to bring it into the older systems or not. But Microsoft Recall was something that Microsoft came out with about a year ago. And what it does, it's like kind of like a timeline. It recorded everything you did on your screen, and you can then search for something you'd done days ago. It didn't take long for people to realize. So if I enter a password somewhere, it's actually recording me doing my password. If I'm doing my banking, it's recording all the banking I'm doing. Yeah, this is when it first started. So they withdrew Recall and said, we got to work on it. And they're just re-releasing it now, they said, with privacy controls in place. But I think when they did that, they eliminated timelines at the same time for security concerns. At the time, timelines are actually replaced by activity history. And I look for that. I can't find that anymore either. So I think they just took it out. So Recall will be something else that'll be interesting. It may just be on the brand new Windows that have a Copilot key that are going to be replacing the Windows key. If I wind up going ahead and getting one of those to play with, you'll find out. Okay. Any other questions? That's all I had on that. So start menu, taskbar, virtual desktop. All righty. You're there. Windows has always had two ways of getting to things. They still have the old control panel, but they've been migrating everything to their settings area more and more. You get to that, bring up the start menu, and it's the little geary thing that says, surprisingly enough, bring that up, and it's got just all sorts of good stuff that I can use. We start here on the home screen. It gives me information about my system. This one's called Defiant. I have a Star Trek theme going through everything. This one's Defiant. My desktop is Stargazer, and my Windows 10 laptop is Excalibur. Enterprise is my old desktop. It lets me know I'm connected to Wi-Fi, that I last checked Windows Update when I booted this thing an hour ago. Lets me know how much cloud storage I have on OneDrive. What it was I wanted to show here particularly. Display. I go to settings. System's got a lot of good stuff here. Display. This is where I could set up my brightness, whether or not I wanted to, in low light situations, to go to a mellower color. Color profile, HDR, don't really care about that much. Display resolution. I often need to know this when I'm setting up certain graphic cards. This one is 2496 by 1664. Given certain visual abilities, you see that I've actually brought up everything to 175%. If I leave these things on default, I can't read a thing on this laptop. Display orientation is landscape. Multiple displays. I do not have multiple displays on here. And I could display brightness settings here, set up dual monitors. This one tells me how to actually do all that. This goes to some of the troubleshooters that I'll talk about a little bit later. Sound, here's where I can actually change all the sound things, choose where to play the sound, what speakers. I can add speakers, choose a device for speaking or reading, and so on and so forth. So all that is controlled here. One that's a lot of fun is personalization. I normally like to use a slideshow for my backstop. I set it for here for the default Windows 90 or Windows. I don't know why I'm saying Windows 95. Windows 11. This is their default for that. I usually like a slideshow of Digital Blasphemy. I've used their stuff for years, and it's a lot of fun. I am not certain at all, actually. I did a lot of traveling this summer past. I've already got a lot of traveling done for weight. So that just left me confused. I'm still not sure what month it is. Yeah, I know. I could set up contrast themes. Oh, yeah, this is something that John was asking about, is dark mode. I know a lot of people like dark mode. So that is settings, personalization. Actually, I had to search for this a little bit. Go from back to background. I've got to go back a little bit. Personalization, colors. And color is where you get the chance to choose your light mode or your dark mode. I personally prefer light mode myself, depending on how it's used. Some people like the other. Or you could create a custom mode if you so desire. So choose your light mode and your default app mode. So you can kind of mix and match that a little bit. Change that to light. And of course, you can play around with the color schemes and create custom colors if you so wish. Set up your contrast, change the taskbar color. That could be fun. Okay. I could easily spend an entire class on just the settings, and we have in the past, I believe. I'll be getting back into a little bit of this later on with like privacy, but these are some of the more common things that people like to play with when you're personalizing Windows for yourself, Windows 11 for yourself.
One thing I suggest to people all the time, go into settings, regardless of your machine, and go through every single one of them and see what's there. I wouldn't start changing things unless you know what it is, but at least see what it is, what's there. Or, oh, geez, that's something I really want to do.
I noticed we had a couple other slides, so I'm going to go through keyboard shortcuts and security basics. Keyboard shortcuts is going to take about 3 seconds because we already covered a lot of that. Let me bring up my text document. Okay, I have some text. This is just something that comes in really handy sometimes. I want to copy this. I will highlight it. I can do a right click on it and do copy, or I can do a Control C, and then I Control P. Really, that's going to break it? Oh, no, not that. Copy, paste. One place where I find this really useful is sometimes when I'm entering a password. I use a password manager, so all my passwords are in there. But sometimes I'll run into a website where for some reason or another, I can't automatically enter the password. So I'll go into my password manager and I'll copy that password. I'll go to the website and I'll try to do a paste through Windows. And they're set up to not accept a paste from Windows.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Tab, Control V will often work. There's very few places that have disabled Control V. So you can usually do a paste with that. There are a couple of them where I've had to sit there, bring up Notepad, blow it up to 15 type, 16 not type, because I use 24 character passwords now and all random. So yeah.
I've run into sites will not accept paste at all.
Yeah.
And they're not in sites you say, why are they so worried? Who in their right mind would want to break into this site and steal my information?
Oh my God, they're going to steal my GameFAQs account. Yes.
I'll just piggyback on this keyboard shortcut.
Yeah.
As a general tip, computing tip, learn as many keyboard shortcuts as you can. It'll speed up your computing.
Yes.
A couple of them I did not mention that I forgot about mentioning. Control X is cut. So you got cut, copy, paste. Control X, Control C, Control V. Another one that I find very useful is Control Z, undo.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Control Z will usually get you out of a, what did I just do?
And quite often, Shift Control Z is redo. I do that all the time. Ow, when you go into applications, learn the keyboard shortcuts and applications, because if you have an application which is keyboard intensive,
Yeah.
having to
processing.
go to your mouse gets, like a word processing document. I rarely use the mouse or the touchpad when I'm in word processing because I'm typing, and I'll just use the keyboard controls.
And the shortcuts are fairly standardized. They all go back to WordStar, the first really popular word processor.
Yep.
These are all WordStar back before there were mice. That's what you used. All right, I'm going to hit, I've noticed we still had another slide for security basics.
Yes.
So, all right, Windows security. Again, I went into settings, went into my little gear, and here's privacy and security. That's the most. So Windows security. Microsoft by default has some pretty good stuff now built into the thing. I automatically have my virus running here, virus and threat protection, account protection, firewall, app and browser control, device control. And this tells me everything's fine. Everything's going good. Click here on device performance, health. It'll give me a health report. Yeah, I'm not seeing any problems. You got enough storage space. Battery life is good. All right, cool. And it will tell you about Fresh Start, where you can start with a clean and up-to-date installation of Windows. It'll keep your personnel files and some Windows settings and remove some of your apps. Again, like anything else, before you do this, I'd make sure that you back up anything that you can't stand to live without, just in case.
Speaking of viruses, I was doing something, and there was a site that came up as a URL to go to a particular site, which was a legitimate site. So I said, it's something I was interested in. So I clicked on it. This is a legitimate site. I hit that site, and immediately I got hit with the virus warnings. Your system has been infected by, and then my virus software went berserk, saying, warning, this is a malicious site. And I had to literally shut down Safari and reboot to get it back. And I reported the site to, I reported what had happened, because what it was an ad. The pop-up ads you see, is an ad that did that.
Yeah.
And that ain't good. And I have it written down at home. I can't remember which site it was, but I mean, it was a legitimate site. It wasn't, that I know about and I'd been to before. And it hit an ad that just it was literally trying to download a virus.
It sounds like a cross-site scripting attack. More than
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. Ad networks can get compromised that way. Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah, the website's fine, but the ads that are being served taken from other servers.
That's why I strongly suggest people, if there is a reader service available that bypasses the ads, use it. If you have a way of blocking the ads, block them. And by the way, something could be slowing you down. If any of the sites that you open have ads running in them, quite often ads will not, when you go to a different window, they will continue to run. So you need to be very careful about that.
I use AdBlock Plus and Privacy Badger. They're both effective. However, I'm finding more and more websites, as soon as you go there, oh, you're running an ad blocker. We depend on our ad revenue. Please stop. And some of them will let you continue without, but a lot of them will just say, nope, if you want to see this, turn off your ad blocker. Yeah, it depends on, you got to use your judgment as to whether or not it's worthwhile or not.
Yeah. Does Windows have the password manager built in yet?
I'm not sure about Windows. Edge, definitely.
Yeah, it's done in the web browser. Yeah.
I use RoboForms, so I really don't pay attention.
Yeah.
I just like saving that stuff to anybody except that. That's my one vulnerability is. Okay, Windows Up. Okay, another thing to be aware of is Windows Update, especially since Microsoft used to have the thing about Patch Tuesday was the second Tuesday of the month, and then the fourth Tuesday of the month was kind of like they caught up on important ones. I kind of feel like they've dropped that thing. They'll still drop a lot of stuff at the second Tuesday, but they just drop a lot of things out of cycle. So it's a good idea to have Windows Update running automatically. You can actually turn it off. I tell it to go ahead and get them as soon as they're available. A lot of people don't like that because sometimes a bad patch will go through But in all these years, I think there's been one time that I got bit by a patch. I'd be a lot more concerned about it if I was in a business environment where I was running custom applications that have to be tested against any changes in the operating system. For most of us who are just kind of vanilla customers, probably not that great of a risk, but still, if it makes you more comfortable, by all means, you can pause updates. I could check. One thing they'll do too is they'll schedule updates. They also have updates that they put into category that they're good to have, but they're not really essential. And they'll put that in kind of a category that they call for the seekers. You won't get served it right away unless you click on check for updates. They'll say, this is someone who wants everything. And then they'll serve out those, the seeker updates or the early birds or the enthusiast updates. Yeah.
Can it be configured to just download the update and then let you know so that you can decide when to actually install it? Or does it automatically install it every time?
Let's take a look. That's a good question. Okay, download over metered connections. Notify me when a restart is required to finish updating. Okay, a lot of times it'll have to reboot to finish. Active hours, we won't restart your device during these hours. Optional updates. Delivery optimization. Look what that would give it. If you actually had a large network, this would let you set it up so that you can do one download to a server, and then you could use all your other devices to go from that server.
Oh, neat.
So, I don't know. You can do that or not.
I know on the Mac and iOS, you can tell it to delay an update to the evening.
And this one, you could tell it to, well, yeah, that's what it's got the active hours for. You can tell it, okay, still,
Okay.
don't do me during active hours. Or again, you could pause for a certain amount of time. Okay, they've got up to 5 weeks now. They've gone back and forth on this.
I like that feature.
Yeah. At some point, though, it's going to be, you're getting it. After a certain amount of weeks, you're getting this one. But yeah, whatever makes you most comfortable. Like I said, I just go ahead and grab them immediately, mostly so that when we do the user group, I can show the most up-to-date system that we've got. But updates are always a good idea. Backups. This was interesting. Is John, okay, again, on the stuff that you send me, gave me a few things to go to. The way that they do backups now is essentially, they're really pushing OneDrive for backups. You got me looking. So file history. Okay, I got file history on Windows 10. Let's take a look. I'm going to do a couple of little segues here. Those of you who have known me for a while and know me bring up my stuff may notice that my desktop is amazingly clean. When I first started seriously getting into computers, the first computer I used at work was a Macintosh 2. And I didn't realize it until some years ago when someone says, you really like to make your Windows desktop look like a Mac, because I always put icons all over the desktop. That's just the way I always did it. I found with OneDrive, if you're actually going to use OneDrive, that does not work well, and I'll explain why later. But I wound up cleaning up this, and what I wanted to show you was I have these icons up here. This is for my system, control panel, and network. The way that you actually show those is under the settings, personalization, you go to themes, you have desktop icon settings, and that lets you show where you can put these system icons. And that's the thing, these are system icons. They're not shortcuts. And I've chosen to show the computer, which is defined. I did not let it do my files because that's kind of redundant for what I need. And it shows a network icon and it shows a recycle bin icon. And it doesn't show the icon here, but also control panel. So that's how I got these up here. I mentioned that Windows has been moving, or Microsoft has been moving everything towards the settings application, but there's still a lot of stuff in control panel. And the only way you're going to get to control panel is either through this icon or by searching for control panel in the search box. So I started looking for file history, which again, I've used it on Windows 10. File history just kept track of all the files you've used and let you bring them back up all over a timeline. Well, my search led me to control panel, and lo and behold, here we have the old Windows 7 version of control panel. Let's see, system security. The way that this works, it does not work the way it does on Windows 10 anymore. This goes back, like I said, to Windows 7. It'll create a file history, but you need an external drive or a network drive. Won't do it on your local drive. I remember a few years ago, I actually demonstrated this using a USB stick, and I'm not going to do that again because I started it, and boy, I had hell turning it off again without letting it complete itself. So, but file history is here, probably not real usable, but it is here. It allows you to turn on file history, and it'll do a backup to a external drive.
Speaking of backups real quick, on Windows, iOS, macOS, please turn your backup on. On macOS, it's Time Machine, which is an external drive. Works very well. iOS for iPad and iPhone, it's a setting that will automatically back up to the cloud. Please turn those on. because if you lose something, you can go back to your last backup and get it back. And I've seen too often people, that's why in my case, I have Time Machine backup, I have a cloud service backup, and I have an external backup.
In iOS settings, it's under iCloud. So you go to your iCloud account.
And it's on by default, isn't it?
I think it would be, yeah. The only reason it would stop is if you run out of cloud storage with Apple in your Apple account. So
Hey, so what Microsoft is really pushing you towards now is OneDrive as a backup solution, which drives me crazy because OneDrive is actually a synchronization solution, but they're calling it backup. A real backup, it takes all of your information, encodes it into a single file, and saves out that file. What this does is synchronization. And here's how you get to it through the system panel, through the settings panel. I went into settings and then system, and then here's storage, and it's looking and seeing, okay, what do you got? What do you got? What do you got? Thinking about it, thinking about it. One thing that is in storage, by the way, that I turned off here is storage sense. If you start running low on storage, it'll start going through and finding old files that you haven't used for a while, delete temporary files, and do things up for you. Advanced storage settings. This brings you to This brings you to your backups options, storage on other drives, when new contents use storage spaces, which is interesting. What is storage spaces? Where you could take several different drives and put them into one virtual storage disk. Yeah, it lets you do that now. So I could take a couple different drives and put them together. Windows backup. This is the modern thing. OneDrive syncing. Okay, I go to manage sync settings. Actually, okay, here's how you get through their system. What I'm going to do, though, is take you in through OneDrive. This seems to be a little slower. Here's these little clouds are the OneDrive icon in the system tray. It says your files are synced. And we talked about this in a Mike and Barry show. I go up here to the little click, settings, sync and backup. Backup important PC folders to OneDrive. And one thing I want to emphasize is when you do a major update to Windows 11, it'll usually come up with a little window. Hey, let's finish your optimization, your installation. It'll say, you want to turn on backup. Do not say yes unless you're ready for it. And I'll explain why here in a second. Go to manage backup. And I've actually gone all in on it. I've shut it. Okay, fine. Back up my documents, pictures, desktop, music, and videos. By default, it will do this. And if it's doing that update and it says, you want to turn on backup, and you say yes, it'll turn all this on. Here is the problem with doing this. I can't believe they engineered it this way. OneDrive, when you turn this on, it does two things. First, it'll go into your documents folder on Windows, which is normally under C drive, your usernames, and whatever profile that you're under, and then documents. When you turn this on, OneDrive will create a new folder called OneDrive/documents. It will then move everything from the documents into that folder. And that's what is syncing up to the OneDrive. I was so mad the first time I figured this out because I had a game that was saving my games, my save games there. All of a sudden, what the hell happened to my save games? They're gone. It took me a while to figure it out. That's part one. Here's part two. Up on the OneDrive in the cloud, it creates a document folder. Okay, I start OneDrive on here. It takes everything from my document folder and throws it in there. I start OneDrive on my desktop computer. Okay, it takes everything from that documents folder and throws it into that same documents folder up in OneDrive. That wouldn't be so aggravating. What's really aggravating is desktop. As I mentioned, that I used to like to have all sorts of icons and shortcuts and everything all over my desktop. It takes the desktop, all the icons and everything that's on this, throws them up into the desktop folder. My desktop does the same thing, grabs everything it's got and throws them up there. And then, of course, it's syncing so that it syncs them all back. So I now have shortcuts from my desktop on my laptop where they aren't going to work because the network paths are different. So unless you're prepared for this, this is a mess. What I did to prepare is and I was kind of interested to see how this worked. I created a new folder on my C drive on all three of my systems, and I called it Holodeck, the Star Trek thing. And I then I created a shortcut, and then I moved everything that I had on the desktop into here. So now it's not going to move these around. All it's going to synchronize is my shortcut to the C drive. And I was really interested to see it because I just named them all Holodeck. And I was wondering is it actually going to replicate that across? Turns out, yes, it did. That's why I have 3 Holodecks here. One for Defiant, one for Stargazer, and one for Excalibur. What's really weird was when it first copied them, it copied the actual network path so that it couldn't be used. I mean, it was like I'm TechDoc on one system, Mike M on another system, and I actually copied the network path. But then after it settled for a couple minutes, it figured it out, and now all 3 of these go to the same place on my C drive. but I can't take them out because if I remove one of them, it'll replicate it back down again. I always thought of OneDrive as a work in progress. So I would not turn on OneDrive for everything unless you're prepared for it. For this reason, now I'm prepared for it. It's working great for me. Be aware of that. So this is their backup solution. There is something else there though that is kind of neat that you can do. If you go under Account and here under Choose Folders, I went in and I went full in and I just said duplicate everything. You can actually select folders and select whether or not that they're going to duplicate. Well, I had a bunch of stuff that was in documents. And I went through and said, okay, these are in documents, but I don't want you to upload this one, this one, this one, and so on. So you do have some ability to customize. But again, be aware of what you want to do. They made this a lot harder than it really needs to be for a backup solution. As I said, they call it a backup solution. It's really a synchronization solution. As far as synchronizing all your files to all your different devices where you're logged into your Microsoft account, it works great. Backup? Yeah, okay, I suppose it does do a backup, but I think they could do much better than that. I think the whole point of this is they really want to get you to use your Microsoft account, do a subscription to OneDrive, and get the terabyte of space. You're right. That's exactly what I used to do. I used to have a folder named Data, and everything got saved into Data. And then I would just copy that over to an external hard drive or a network drive. And yeah, that's exactly right. All right. One other thing I was going to hit really quick here. We talked about, or it was brought up about doing a system image. And I was kind of wondering if they still do that as well. Again, I found that that is available through Control Panel, through Windows 7, through System and Security, Backup and Restore Windows 7. They still keep the old backup system. Windows backup has not been set up, okay, but what I wanted to show here is they actually still have the option to create a system image or create a system repair disk. You can use this to create an image of your D drive on your computer, of your operating system. You can use like a USB flash drive or external drive of some kind. You have to have at least 16 gigabytes to do this. You can create a system image. It'll take a picture of your operating system, and that's your backup. You'll also need to create a system repair disk, which again is a bootable USB drive. And that provides the tools. If your system goes bad on you, you use the system repair disk, you boot up, and it'll give you the tools that you have to fix your system. And one of the tools is restore from a system image. If you've got that system image, you can actually just restore your entire system back. I'm not sure how useful this is anymore because Microsoft, under its recovery options, under settings, yep, that's Windows 7. Under the new stuff, the system under recovery options, now they do have a number of ways to do this. Fix problems without resetting your PC. And basically all it is it kind of refreshes the operating system files, or fix problems using upset redate, Windows update, or reset this PC, or you could, as we mentioned, advanced startup, or you could basically do an entire recovery. You probably have this, is probably more worthwhile. It's going to download fresh files for you on the internet as you're doing this, but the old way is still there as well. The old in the Windows 7 way. I was still amazed to find out that there actually is still a way to do this.
Okay, before we continue, I'd like to make a suggestion. We're not even halfway through the tips that we have.
Yep.
What I would like to do is, rather than next month being Generative AI, which I can actually cover in Tommy Tech Topics a lot, but that's something that could take up the entire meeting, is that we continue this, because I think this has really been good. Anybody disagree?
Oh, no.
Then it's done. And what I'll is
I'm exactly halfway through the Windows stuff.
well, if we go back and take a look at
The other ones don't have quite as many.
this was a big one, okay? But this is what we have left. So suggesting web browsing, that'd be a good place to start next month. Give you a chance to mull over what we covered today. And if you have any questions, either bring them to the meeting or drop them into the group email. For me, it's been really great. I've actually learned some things. Any questions? Yeah. Oh, whoa. If you have a scam, if you suspect a scam, or you say, I wonder if this is legit, please contact one of the officers, use the group email, and we'll let you know almost immediately. And the answer is, it is a scam. Okay. Rarely. Now, I have, with all the email that I get in scams, I did have one that ended up being legit. And that one just came in last week. I got one from Apple saying, your account password is ready to be reset. I didn't. I thought, well, maybe it's a scam. So I checked the URL, I checked the return, and it was apple.com. Apple.com reset. So I got a hold of Apple support. Somebody tried to reset my password, but I have two-factor authentication, authenticator. I got one account that uses a password, two-factor authentication, and authenticator to get in. We'll see you all next month. Same bat time, same bat channel.
But in a different room.
In a different room. Don't forget the different room.
Park on the far east side of the building.